So I've noticed there's a ton of confusion right now with the second round of Paycheck Protection funding. I've posted a couple videos on this topic, and I've noticed the comments are just filled with questions, endless questions about various circumstances. What should I do in this case? What should I do in that case? So I decided, I'm just going to make a video addressing the top questions that I think would be the most helpful for those interested in the Paycheck Protection Program, whether you're self-employed, you're an independent contractor, you're a sole proprietor. Any person who may be interested in this stimulus program, this video is for you and should help ease the confusion with the program. So let's start off. These are direct from the comments in the last few videos that I've done on this program. So the first one, does the Paycheck Protection Round 2 work for Uber as well? And the answer is yes. Independent contractors can still apply just like the first round of Paycheck Protection funding. Nothing has really changed there. In order to calculate the amount you can expect to receive with PPP Round 2, you just take your average monthly net self-employment income, multiply that by 2.5, and that will give you a rough idea as to what you can expect for the PPP loan, and that should be 100% forgivable. Seems like the best way to apply for independent contractors are through the fintechs like Cabbage or PayPal. Companies like that seem to be the easiest to apply for independent contractors. Smaller banks, it may be a little bit harder or they're a little more bogged down. That's just what I noticed for the first round anyways. All right, next question. This person says, I lost 24.96% in quarter 2 compared to 2019. It equals a $30 change over year. I wonder if they can make an exception, because that would be really heartbreaking to find out I barely was not qualified for round 2. So this person is referencing that in order to receive the second round of Paycheck Protection funding, you need to show a quarter to quarter loss of more than 25%. So you need to show whether that be quarter 2 of 2020 compared to quarter 2 of 2019 or quarter 1 to quarter 1, you need to show a 25% loss. This person showed a 24.96% loss. Now, that is a tough one. I would say because it's so close and rounds to 25, you're probably going to be okay and you're going to be able to still apply. I can't say that with 100% certainty, but the fact that it rounds up, I think you'll be able to make it work. And I don't think that these guidelines are quite that strict. I think that you'll be able to. So the next question, have there been any indications so far that say whether or not your second PPP loan is required to be with the same lender that your first PPP loan is with? I would say no. There is no indication I've seen whatsoever on this. It probably will be a little bit easier to apply with the same person, but that might not be the case. I know that the systems are going to be much better the second time around, and there are certain lenders that are really prepared for this second round. I've been working with a company that I'll link in the description that helps connect businesses with multiple lenders, and that might be the best bet for certain people especially if you didn't have the greatest experience the first time around, or maybe they're a hassle to deal with, whatever that reason might be. But you don't have to use the same lender both times around. The next question. So do we have to wait for our banks to offer PPP2, or do we print out the application on the SBA website and I guess just submit it to the SBA? You have to wait for your bank to make it available to apply for this program. Whether there's an application on the SBA website or not, it goes through your local lender either way, and they might have slightly different paperwork. So just wait for your lender to have all their paperwork in order and just apply through your local lender. Next question, will you be able to apply online? And again, this has to do with whichever lender you happen to be using. Most have some kind of online application process at this point. I remember at the very first PPP loans, we're talking way back in March, April of last year, it was all paper. And at least for the lender I used, they switched from like a 20-page all paper application to just online because they couldn't handle it. And I think that'll be the case for most of them, especially with the fintechs. There will be ways to apply online. I'd say at least 90% of lenders will allow you to apply online. Next question. I wonder if it's going to be harder to get approved for a PPP loan if you received an EIDL loan. So with that, I know that you can refinance the EIDL loan into the PPP loan because I know it's kind of an either or thing. So you can't get both, but you can get the larger of the two. So that will affect the PPP loan at least. Next question just says, Schedule C, line 31, or total income? Question mark, question mark, question mark. So they're asking, what figure do I use to multiply by 2.5 to get what my PPP loan size might be? And if you don't have employees, you will use that Schedule C, line 31. If you have employees, obviously you use payroll amounts to calculate your total PPP loan size. Next person says, thanks so much. If I'm the only employee / owner of my business, should I put 1 in the number of employees box? The answer is yes. 1 employee. That's you. Next person says, hi Max, new subscriber to your channel. Thank you very much. If I have a business equipment loan / lease for one of my restaurants, can part of the PPP loan be used to make my monthly payments? I've only received the PPP 1, but now I need to file for the forgiveness application. Thanks in advance. You don't have to file for the forgiveness application quite yet. In fact, most lenders are saying just hold off until we receive more guidance on this. But as far as will your equipment loan or lease be forgiven as part of the PPP loan, that one's kind of tough. I would say no, looking at what is covered, but there is some gray area. So let me go over this. It might take a little bit of time to go over all the expenses that can be forgiven with the second round, but this is really important. So stay tuned here. So covered in both rounds of the Paycheck Protection Program are payroll, we know that, and payroll related expenses, rent, covered mortgage interest and utilities, and I guess that's about it for the first round. In the second round, you also have operation expenditures. So I'm reading off the exact word for word because it gets a little bit confusing. They say payments for business software or cloud computing service that facilitates business operations, product or service delivery, the processing, payment or tracking of payroll expenses, HR and billing functions, or account or tracking of supplies, inventory, records, and expenses. So just computer software expenses are what they're considering operational expenditures. It seems like a pretty narrow window. We might see that changed or a little bit more gray area there. I don't think the equipment loan would exactly fit into that. Then we have covered property damage costs. So that's costs related to property damage and vandalism or looting due to public disturbances that occurred during 2020 that was not covered by your insurance or other compensation. We also have added on the second round of PPP funding, covered supplier costs, and they're defining this as expenditures to a supplier of goods that are essential to the operations of the entity at the time in which the expenditure was made. Now that's another gray area one. Could equipment potentially go into that? It's hard to say exactly. You're gonna have to double check with your lender, but I'm leaning more towards no on this. And then we have covered worker protection expenditures. This one obviously won't, but it's good to just go over anyways. They define that as operating or capital expenditures that will allow a business to comply with requirements or guidance issued by the CDC, HHS, OSHA, or any state or local government during the pandemic. So that's kind of all the covered expenses. Like I said, there's going to be some gray area as to what can be covered, what won't, and how will we certify what we've spent on and if that fits in the gray area or not. We don't have all the exact definitions on that quite yet. So the next question, what if you were an LLC/sole proprietorship with no other employees other than yourself, but you didn't draw an actual salary? So that goes back to the question we went over earlier. You're going to use your Schedule C, line 31 for this calculation. You're going to take that, divide it by 12, multiply that by 2.5. Next question. when can we apply for PPP round 2? We don't know exactly yet, but as part of the stimulus bill, it says this needs to be done very quickly. So I hope to see it very, very soon. Maybe even by the time you're watching this video, we can apply for PPP round 2. And then the last question, does the EIDL grant count against the Paycheck Protection Program? And the answer is no. They changed the guidance on this. It is a very exciting part of the second round and the corrections made with this second stimulus bill that the EIDL grant does not count towards that. So if you appreciate this video, please leave a like and subscribe. Just as a thanks for my efforts and to show the YouTube algorithm that we're doing a good job over here. Check out the link in my description for Webull, where you can receive 2 completely free stocks with their stock brokerage. It's an awesome deal. I've done it. Pretty much all my family members have done it. Also, check out my link in the description for my teachable course on how to start and run a profitable moving company. So I'd like to thank you for watching, and I hope you have a profitable day.